Mackenzie.
Lamar.
I can't. It sounds too much like Teddy from Memento when I try to do Barbra Streisand in New York accent. I'm doing my best here, guys. I'm not an actor. I'm just a podcast host.
You're doing
yeah,
great.
Yeah. So we're starting off musical month with Funny Girl today. Pretty simple concept, I think. It's a girl. She's funny, not very attractive. Barbra Streisand, famously hideous, right? Like just
oh my god, so silly, right? How they lean into that.
yeah. But I wanted to start off pretty easy here with you got any good jokes? Are you a funny girl over there? I think you're pretty funny on the pod. You got any good jokes for us?
Thanks. I don't have a lot of I'm not a person who has jokes just on the fly. I think I'm more of a in the moment, this is funny kind of person. But I did tell kind of a dad joke in a meeting recently, if you want to hear it.
Let's hear it. I love a good dad joke.
Okay, why can't you trust an atom?
I don't know. Why can't you trust an atom?
Because they make up everything.
Oh, goodness gracious. That's a solid dad joke.
It's such a dad joke. And it's a nerdy dad joke. So I was kind of here for it. But yeah, I don't have a lot of those on the fly. Do you have a good one?
I'm not on the fly. I feel like, maybe it's just a product of the internet at this point when you can find humor whenever you need to. Mm-hmm. I don't feel the need to memorize as many jokes as we used to. When
My friend younger. Courtney is like that though. She got a joke book and studied it. And if you just ask her for a joke, she could tell you a different one. It's kind of an amazing skill, actually.
Well, that's shout out to Courtney. That's pretty goddamn impressive. I wanted to. This is weird. The second week in a row that I'm going to mention Joe Bob Briggs. He's probably top of mind because we just saw him a few weeks ago for the Halloween marathon.
I was going to say, why are you obsessed with him? No.
I am obsessed with him. I love the man. He got me into horror movies. I can't thank him enough for that, which you guys on the pod know. So he, at the end of every episode on Shudder, he tends to give a joke or two. Sometimes they're dad jokes. Sometimes they're more long form story stuff. And some of them are just bangers. So I decided to look up some of his best, and I got two for you. One that I'm going to change the punchline slightly on just for a matter of timing, because he told this joke, I think 5 years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and tell this one, and then I'll hit you with another one. So guy goes into a bar and orders a drink. The bartender, who is a robot, he, serves these perfectly crafted cocktails. So he gives the guy his drink, and then the robot asks, "What is your IQ?" And the man says, 150. Why? So the robot proceeds to go through all this conversation about global warming and quantum physics and nanotech and all this. And the guy, he's really impressed, right? So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna test this logic out. So he leaves the bar and then turns around and comes right back in and orders another drink. And again, the robot serves him this perfectly crafted cocktail and then says, "What is your IQ?" And this time the man's like, "You know what? My IQ is 100. So immediately the robot starts talking about football and NASCAR and supermodels and big boobs and all this. So the guy is, again, pretty impressed. And he's like, okay, one more time. He's getting ready to leave. But he's like, let me try one more time. Turns back around, goes back into the bar, orders another drink. And the robot serves him a perfect cocktail and says, "What is your IQ?" And the guy says, I think it's about 50. And so the robot says, "So are you going to vote for Trump a third time?" Again.
I see what you did there with the timing. Yeah. I see what you did there.
So originally the joke was, "So are you going to vote for Trump again?" Unfortunately, that happened. Here we are.
Yeah.
So I tweaked it. But shout out to Joe Bob Briggs, who is a native Texan. And he is just the anti-Texan super. I mean, I'm not going to guess at his political leanings, but based on the things I've heard him say, he seems very progressive and accepting. Not to say that everyone in Texas is not that way, but just the trend speaks for itself,
There are a few of us. Progressives.
I've met some pretty cool Texans.
I did look up because I wanted us to be on theme. So again, I don't have these on the fly, but I want to leave us with maybe one little theater kid joke.
Let's hear it.
If you're down. Okay. So how many producers does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many producers does it take to change a light bulb?
Sorry, a new light bulb isn't in the budget.
That's a good theater joke. Yeah.
If you're a theater kid, you know how broke they are, and it really works. It works.
You want a good men versus women joke to wrap us up here?
Sure.
I love a little bit of. So anyway, again, credit to Joe Bob Briggs here. But did I tell you the one about the husband and wife that didn't trust each other?
No.
No. So wife goes out one night, doesn't come back till like early the next morning. Husband's naturally suspicious and says, where have you been all night? And she says, oh, I slept over at a friend's house. So the guy calls her 10 closest friends on speed dial, like calls them up and is like, was she? And none of them can vouch for her. So the guy's naturally very suspicious. He just excommunicates her, shuts her out for like a few days and doesn't talk to her and whatnot. A couple of months later, guy does the same thing. He goes out, doesn't come back till the morning, comes home, wife is mad, says, where have you been? He says, well, I slept over at a friend of mine's house. So the wife gets out her phone, calls up his 10 closest friends, same thing. 8 of them confirm that he did sleep at their house last night, and 2 of them say he's still there. That was pretty accurate, right?
I think that's pretty good. I will say, I think you got like some ride or dies, that would be like, yeah, she's here now for sure. Like I know that I would have a person that I would tell you to call to vouch for me, and she would be like, she's here right now. What are you talking about? For sure. But
I feel like there's ways you could interpret that as being like mean to. I actually think it paints women in a more positive light, because I feel like
it does, because we're so honest.
Yeah.
I will say the most unrealistic part about that joke is like both people having 10 close friends. That's as adults. That's hilarious.
Yeah. How old is this married couple? Like 22?
Right. Are they 22? Are they just out of college? What just happened? Oh, I love it. All right, let's get to the funny girl of it all. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lamar.
And we are kicking off a whole new month here on the pod. Happy December. Welcome to December. We're actually not in December yet, but that's neither here nor there. And we are starting musical month. My theater kid heart is just jumping for joy. I'm so excited. So
because every musical that we're doing this month, we don't have to get through all of them, but they all started on stage, right? Like they were all Broadway musicals before they became motion pictures.
I'm trying to remember all the ones we picked, but yeah, should be. That was the goal.
I feel like that. I mean, I would assume that's common, right? But occasionally
there are definitely some music. Yeah, there's like some movie musical, which also like I considered deeply doing La La Land, but it's not that. So that's part of why we didn't do it. But yeah, I think most certainly. And we are kicking things off with one that did do this for sure. Started on Broadway about 4 years before it's made into a film. Funny Girl. So it's going to be a fun one. Babs. We're going to hang out with Babs for a couple hours. But we wanted to give you a December-y vibe kind of drink. So what are we drinking today?
Yeah, we wanted to kick off sort of the holiday season here with a play on a toddy. We're calling this the Henry Street Hot Toddy. This is 2 ounces of whiskey, half an ounce of pomegranate liqueur, 0.75 ounces of lemon, and half an ounce of honey. And then you just boil some water or heat it up in the microwave, pour that over top of it, throw in some nutmeg, and you got this really warm. It's pretty damn tasty. It's a good wintertime sipper for sure.
I didn't do the nutmeg because I'm like not a nutmeg person, but I did the rest. Have you tried it yet? You said it was good. Okay.
It is quite good. So shout out, I should have said this already, at Craft World, no vowels. Follow them on Instagram. But shout out at Craft World, as always, for our cocktail. It's delicious.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. That is a fancy-ass glass, Mackenzie.
Thank you. Y'all, I have a glass for every occasion. This is definitely a mug that is a pretty glass. Yeah, and I thought it was very fun, girl-esque. Little fun.
I have a glass for Scream.
I love that. So, yeah. That's so cool. I have mine on my little mug warmer too, so I'm happy because it'll stay warm while we do this.
I don't think I've ever made myself a toddy. That's pretty damn good.
This is better than I think an average toddy. The pomegranate makes a big difference. Okay, so that's delicious. And now we're going to talk some basics before we give, I think, a quick spoiler warning. I don't know. This is really old. Hopefully you've seen it by now. If you're here, I'm kind of shocked, but whatever. We'll give a quick one in case. So Funny Girl, 1968. This has a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 95% from critics, pretty fire, 85% from audiences. And this is directed by one Mr. William Wyler. So if you haven't heard of him, he's done quite a few things. He did Ben-Hur, he did Roman Holiday, he did How to Steal a Million, which is a Marilyn Monroe's, vehicle. And gosh, I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna want to say Lauren Bacall, but it's not. But anyways, great movie. And this is the transition from stage to screen, this one.
He, fun fact, is the director who has directed the most actors in history to Oscar nominations at 36, which is insane. Number 2 is, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. You might know this name. Elia Kazan, who did like Streetcar Named Desire.
I think it's Elia Kazan, but yeah.
Elia Kazan, my bad. East of Eden. You want to take a stab at who number 3 is? It's a director who's still with us. 3rd place in the most Oscar noms for actors and actresses.
Is it Coppola?
Not Coppola. You're on the right track.
Spielberg?
No. Give you one more guess. I think you can get there.
Who would be another good one? I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, but I'm not.
I'll give you a hint. Watch it. For those of you on video, you're going to get a treat. Cinema.
I couldn't see you, by the way.
No?
My screen is tiny.
No.
You're this big on my screen, in case you weren't aware.
Okay. It's Martin Scorsese. So there's that famous like image of him sitting.
Oh, Scorsese. Yeah, that does
so
check
to put
out.
it in perspective, guys, he has 22. The guy in first place has 36. So this is a pretty well-renowned director.
Pretty solid. Again, I like, all 3 of those that I just mentioned had Oscar noms. More than Roman Holiday, I think, had 2, and Ben-Hur had several, and How to Steal a Million had at least 1. So yeah, checks out. Totally. The writers on this, so this is fun. Again, this is a transition from stage to screen, for me to reiterate that for the umpteenth time. But all the core, really even like some of the production and the cast is all very similar actually to the stage. And in musical theater, you typically have somebody who does the book for the musical, and then you have somebody who does the music and lyrics, or one and one of each of those. It really depends on the musical. A lot of times now it's music and lyrics. In this case, it was one person who did the book, which was Isabel Leonard. She did a couple other things, including some Broadway, but for film, Love Me or Leave Me, Meet Me in Las Vegas, a couple of those. But again, the source material she wrote in 1964. And then the music is done by Jules Stein. And then Bob Merrill did the lyrics. So kind of all together, they all did all the writing of this one.
I found it interesting that this was Streisand's first movie. And like you said, she was in the musical already, but her first film. And it actually ended up being the last official screenplay that Isabella wrote. She passed in 1971. So interesting that like they sort of crossed over there and made a little bit of magic here.
Yeah, I mean, it's very close to the stage, it's almost identical. I think they only tweaked a couple of things for screen. So it's pretty close to the same. And we have to call out the producer right out of the gate here, because this kind of all came together because of Mr. Ray Stark, who actually married the real Fanny Brice and Nick Arnstein's daughter, Francie. So he's actually Fanny Brice's son-in-law. And he's the producer of this musical on the stage and on the screen.
So that's like the coolest gift you can give to your in-laws, right? Like,
I mean, really,
make a play about you
and about like the success of your career. He also did the sequel Funny Lady, which we're not going to talk about much later, but is the second half of Fanny Brice's story. But he centered this story on this particular relationship and her rise to fame. And yeah, at the end of the day, this is based on a true story. And he was, extended member of the family and goes on to produce this. But he's produced a ton of stuff. He did Annie, did Murder by Death. Probably one of the more recent ones that people would know would be Steel Magnolias. Which is also based on a play, in case you didn't know. So he's kind of been in the theater, and this was really fitting for him. But I just love that he has this personal connection to it. This is his family at the end of the day.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then major cast and crew we'll do really quick. Barbra Streisand, as we said, good old Babs, plays Fanny Brice again in her first role here. She goes on, by the way, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but like she breaks every motherfucking award record that you can. This is her first, and she wins the Oscar out of the gate for this role. She ties with Katharine Hepburn for the Oscar, which is crazy. but it's her first role on film, and she goes on to do Yentl, The Way We Were, The Mirror Has Two Faces, Prince of Tides. She's a director, she's a producer, she's a writer, she's a composer. She's the only actress to ever win both the Oscar for Best Actress and Best Song, and she for composing, not lyrics, of the song. So and there's a bazillion other stats like that. This woman has broken every possible ground that you can, and there's just not enough we can say about how incredibly fucking talented this woman is.
Yeah, in addition to everything you said, she's the best-selling female artist of the 20th century. So nowadays, Taylor Swift's overtaken her in the 21st, but she's still, I think, third place overall. But yeah, top seller of the 20th century, which I had no idea. Like, I knew people liked Barbra Streisand, but I had no idea she was that high selling.
She's a living fucking legend. She has an EGOT, if you don't know what that is, Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, Tonys. She has multiple of each of those. She also has Peabody Awards, the Kennedy Center Honors, Presidential Medal of Freedom. She got Lifetime Achievement Awards from just about all of these organizations. She's a director. Obviously, again, she's got a Directors Guild of America honor. She was the first woman to win the Best Director Golden Globe ever, and I don't think anybody won for like another 37 years. So yeah, she just breaks all the fucking records, and she does all the things, and she's just, and you see why. This is, again, her first showing, and she just fucking nails it, you know.
It's good to know, with all of those accolades, that she just seems, I know that she has a reputation for being difficult behind the scenes, and I'm sure we will get that. Maybe not difficult, but controlling. And obviously she doesn't do a ton of motion pictures. Like, she's around for a couple decades and then she sort of drops off as far as acting is concerned. But I think it helps to know that she just seems crazy. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of the fact that she's just, to misuse the word, funny, but she has a personality. She's very charming. And I think that lends a lot to, like, wow, we want her to succeed. It's one thing to be talented. It's another thing to be likable. So I hope that that's true based on what I've seen here.
I think what I would say about her, you know, having heard some of the stories too, is that she is very charming and personable. And she's somebody that it has a magnetism on the screen, in a room, on the stage, obviously, as evidenced by the 12 million awards that she has. But I think she also has an expectation of excellence, and she knows how to deliver that, right? Both for herself and for others. I think, again, it's evidenced by everything that she does. And I think it's easy for women to be dismissed as difficult when they sit in their skill set and they hold to it, and she knows what she's fucking good at. And that's not to say that I'm not excusing any maybe extreme behavior. I'm not even referencing one example. I'm just saying, I think somebody like her, who is as talented as she is, she knows what the fuck she's doing, and she probably expects the people around her to respect that and defer to that in some cases. And I think she's got the resume to prove it, you know, that they should. So I think.
Did you see that quote from Weiler, the director of this, about Streisand?
Mm-mm.
The one where somebody asked him in an interview, you know, was Streisand difficult to work with? Like, how hard was it to work with Streisand on this film? And he said, no, she wasn't like overbearing or demanding at all. Like, it was honestly a pretty good experience, considering it was the first film she ever directed. It's the director saying that. But I mean, she had been in the musical for 4 years, so she probably, to your point, had a good idea of what this could be. I would take her 2 cents, but we weren't there.
She originated the role on Broadway. She had been doing it for years. She won awards for it. And then on top of that, she is playing a person like that. Like, we can't overlook that either. Fanny Brice was the same way. Fanny Brice desperately wanted to be famous and successful, and she almost loses that opportunity because she is very strong-willed about what she knows she can and cannot pull off on the stage. And I think that shows up in Babs here as well. So anyway, we'll talk more about what a badass she is. But we also have Mr. Omar Sharif, plays Nick Arnstein. He's done a bunch of stuff as well, but probably most well known for Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. And then we also have a few others who aren't here with us as much. Those are really the primary two, but we also have Kay Medford, who plays Rose Brice, her mother. She's done. Yeah, she does such a good job in this. She's not here enough, honestly. She's good though. A Face in the Crowd, Swing Shift Maisie, We also have Anne Francis, who plays Georgia, her friend, kind of in the theater. Forbidden Planet, she's in, as well as Bad Day at Black Rock. And then we also have Walter Pidgeon, who plays Florence Ziegfeld. Such a great role for him. I think he does a good job. Again, we get a little bit of him. We could get more of him as well, I think.
Can I make a spoiler-free my first critique of this film?
Yes.
There is not enough singing by characters other than Fanny. I just feel like it's a one-woman show, which is, I guess, kind of the point of her watching this trek to stardom and beyond it. But for the record, like, Walter Pidgeon, apparently an incredible singer. Fred Astaire heard him sing and got him his agent. And Walter was like, no, I'd actually rather do acting, so I'm not going to be a singer. He's in a fucking musical, and he doesn't get to sing. And that's my one big complaint about this movie is, I think outside of Fanny, like, obviously Nick sings a couple times in brief parts, and then there's a couple big group numbers, but I kind of wish we had more singing from other characters.
First of all, I love to hear you say that. I love that we're on musical number 1, and you're like, I would love more singing. Yes. I would like some more singing. So like already I'm on board. And while I don't necessarily like need that for me, I love that feedback from you.
That telegram guy shows up in the first 10 minutes. It's not even a fucking singing telegram. What are we doing here? It's a musical.
Oh, I love it. I do think he does a great job in Ziegfeld, though. He's done How Green Was My Valley, and he was also in Forbidden Planet. So he's really great. And then we got a quick plot summary. The life of Fanny Brice, famed comedienne and entertainer of the early 1900s, her rise to fame as a Ziegfeld girl, her subsequent career, and her personal life, particularly her relationship with Nick Arnstein. So I think like one that's super accurate, but I do think it tells us the key point here, which is like, this is based on a true story. And it's really kind of fascinating that, you know, it kind of takes us through the whole plot here.
I don't think I knew that until today, that when you're telling me that it was a true story.
Yeah.
So that sheds new light.
Yeah, there are lots of little nuggets we'll get into about that, but really quick, spoiler warning, turn around, don't drown. It's spoiler time. This is really old, so I don't know, again, why you're here. If you haven't seen it. This did really well from translating from the stage to the screen. It was a $14 million budget, little over 14 million, and it made almost 59 million, 58.7 million. So
simultaneously the most expensive movie of 1968 and the highest grossing movie of 1968.
Yeah.
Things in perspective of what we're spending now. Yeah.
Which it checks out. I mean, it really does. And it's kind of around the same time of there's a bunch of adaptations happening from Broadway to screen, and they don't all go well. Another one that does go really well is My Fair Lady, which actually Julie Andrews originated on Broadway, and they didn't give her the role in the film. She almost had it, and they gave it to Audrey Hepburn, and they ended up not using Audrey Hepburn's vocals. This is one of the ones where they did, you know, the originator, the singer comes onto the screen and performs it on screen. So I think that's another thing that made it really different, really a standout at the time as well.
Interesting.
So I just think we have to kick it off with a bang. You know, I like the bookend of this story. We get late stage Fanny Brice right at the beginning, and I think it's actually a great way to start. We get hello gorgeous, like her vibe right there at the beginning, her confidence, her skill, and just the way it's shot, and you're just seeing her from behind, and there's like that beautiful reveal. That's a very famous line. It's, you know, it's kind of iconic, this moment. And it's rooted in what you'll come to find out is actually this major crossroads of her life and arguably some deep sadness. But she can't help but be funny and be silly and like even mock herself in this moment, because as we will hear over and over and over, she doesn't think she's beautiful. But that's the first thing she says to herself. And I think it's just such an opener.
I wrote down two things right off the bat. The first was, for all you influencers out there, if you've never seen this film, this might be, I was 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, I was like, I think this is the first like cinematically documented case of main character syndrome. That's when it is all about her. She is uber confident and is just ruining all these other, and it's hilarious, but she's just ruining all these other performances, putting the focus on her, like never doubts herself for a second. And it is a very fun character, for the record. But I wrote that down. And the second thing I wrote was, there is no way in hell that Robin Williams did not watch this movie and be like, I'm going to kind of ape on this for the genie in Aladdin a little bit. Because when she's doing the song at the beginning with all the different like voices and accents and the facial expressions, I'm like, oh my God, this is like Robin Williams 20 years before he was a thing. It's bonkers to watch.
Well, it is so also very vaudeville, you know, and he's very
Yes.
vaudevillian, you know, he would have done great on the vaudeville stage, you know, and I think like she plays it so well. One, she's one of those people, again, who is truly just so talented that she is a literal triple threat. And she comes in and she does all the things. I mean, the things they have her do in this film, like she is being a vaudeville stage actor, and they had to be able to do so many things as we see. And yeah, I think he emulates that. I mean, and he also was the king of the pop culture reference and getting
Right.
all these kind of impressions out there. So yeah, I absolutely think this and vaudeville in general, probably one of the many homages in his career. And she just really like, main character syndrome is such a funny but accurate assessment of her. She is so confident. She feels like this is her destiny, you know, like I am gonna change the stage. And it's not insufferable because it's right. It ends up being true, you know, for us to, and we watch it happen.
Yeah, the character is insanely likable. For as much as that joke, you know, as I put it out there, Streisand is incredibly charming in this. We've said that, but just her facial expressions and the amount of physical comedy and a little bit of slapstick in this, she crushes it for a debut film. It's really enthralling to watch.
Because again, she's done this on the stage, you know, she's done this in theater. She's a theater kid. And so like she can really lean into the physical, but yeah, you can't overlook like the physicality, the physical humor of it all that she really leans into and pulls off. And the humor. And I love that she captures that part of Fanny Brice that was so true. Like that's the thing that made her famous. Fanny Brice was not even as beautiful as Barbra Streisand actually is, but it's a running joke. And she was not unattractive by any means. And also, by the way, on the stage and in theater, like you don't have to look gorgeous. But they make this running joke that she's not that beautiful. She's there because she's funny, you know, and she leans into that. And like, that's why it's called Funny Girl. And it really is like, she's self-deprecating, but she also can make situations funny. And the way you see her control her surroundings with humor. We see it later at several occasions that are really hard, but we see it from the very beginning of, you know, this is how I've made my way in the world, is by being funny. And I just love that she leans into it right from the beginning. And one of my other first notes, though, is that Kardashian ass ring. Speaking of influencer, that fucking ring, though. Oh my God. I forgot how big and flashy and garish that rock is. It is insane. And like with the soft focus and the filter and all the things like bing, bing, bing. Like she's all about that ring. She's obsessed. It's hilarious.
Which like that is a clean segue to, we have to get into the other half of this story, which is like what brings the story down, not in like a bad movie sense, but just what brings down the vibe is Nick. And right off the fucking bat, I'm like, I wrote down, I was like, this guy sucks. Like, flat out. He fucking sucks. And you can never doubt a mother's intuition. She
why
knows.
do you think he sucks? I mean, I love that for you, but why do you think he sucks?
For avid listeners of the pod, if you listen to our classics month last December and probably some other scattered examples there, this archetype of the charming, debonair asshole that in, 2 decades, 3 decades prior to this was always the hero of the story. Like I'm thinking like the Humphrey Bogarts, the Clark Gables, where it's like they're kind of dicks, but because they're charming and handsome, like they're the hero. In this, to its credit, I think they're turning it of like, that guy would kind of be a pain in the ass to date, and they mix in the whole gambling addict stuff. But he just seems, I don't like his whole carefree spirit of like, I don't want to be held down and like, I'll see you when I see you. And she just like goes right back after him every time he pops up in the story. When he shows up the third time and she's like, why didn't you stay last time? He's like, oh, you weren't ready for like what this was becoming. And she goes, well, what's changed now? Well, you're going to learn. Fuck it. What? Like he seems like a prick in every sense of the word. Like I just don't like Nick at all. He doesn't seem supportive. He seems jealous, like he's a hater, and he's just doing his own
line.
thing. Yeah.
We were heading for something you couldn't possibly know how to handle. What a fucking line. What a fucking condescending piece of shit. Anyway, I'm so glad that you read the room. She is obsessed with this man out of the gate. And I agree. I don't think he's that charming. He's a handsome guy, but like there's things that there's a job for those ones, right? That's a hit it and quit it situation, girlfriend. Like you don't got to marry him, you know?
His love song to her, his big love song is "You're a woman, I'm a man, let's fuck." That's
literally
not those exact lyrics. It's a G-rated movie, but essentially,
literally, it's basically that. It's kind of wild, but he's, he's got the charm and he's got the charm offensive. And I think what they do really well, again, we cut at the beginning to like Fanny has been through some shit. Ziegfeld's waiting for her. You already know that her star has risen before any of this starts, right?
Yep.
But then cut to, she's a kid basically. She's not literally, but she's basically a kid, and she's, like you said, hyper confident and is gonna make her way. And she does everything that she can to make her way. And she really does like kind of pay her dues for not as long as you would expect because her talent is just insane, but she does try to pay her dues and she does stay kind of grounded, right, in Henry Street and her family and all these things. But I think he is very representative of like, oh, the places you'll go, right? Like he just is like the flashbang charm, beautiful. Oh, that this is what I could have. He represents this thing that I could have, but he is really problematic and she makes so many excuses for him throughout. She really like his career is to gamble. His career is a gambler, right? And he lives a kind of insane life. And yeah, he cops out by saying, oh, you couldn't possibly handle it. Couldn't handle it because you're never fucking around. Like it has, you have a weird, ridiculous career. It's not because I couldn't handle it emotionally. But what I will say is that he does seem to really love her. And I think that's the only reason that this story kind of works, right? We see her make excuses for him and these things that we don't like because he's kind of shitty for sure. But he does seem to really love her, but he is battling his own insecurities. He's a very insecure man.
He's a man of impulse, and she does tether him in a way and like try to keep him grounded in like, we can have a better life if you would just get a real fucking job, basically, which she even like tries to do for him. But she
cushions him throughout. Yeah, she's like catching him and she's maneuvering situations, but she's doing that thing, especially that is very timely at that time. So I understand why she did it, but she's doing the thing that women at that time often did, which was, I'm going to make him think it was his idea, or I'm going to make him think it was lucky, or I'm going to make him think it happened, when really she's the one moving the pawns all around the board. And she shouldn't have to do that, but he's insecure enough that she has to, or continues to be this race, this competition between the two of them.
Yeah. I think one thing that I do like about this story is I thought I knew where it was going. There's that the train station sequence where all the other performers in are telling her like, don't go. It's the classic like, you're too good for him, girl type thing. And they're all trying to convince her to stay, and she's just dead set on going to find him. And I think my first theory was, oh, she's going to get there and he's going to be with another woman and she's going to find out he sucks. That didn't happen. My second theory was, oh, she's giving up fame for him. I like the fact that they continue to have her star rise despite this negative influence in her life. So I feel like that surprised me in two different ways.
I really like that she keeps her career as a result of this. She has made a lot of excuses for him and maybe been really deferential as a partner and as a wife in a lot of ways. But she won't give up this dream. Right. And I love that for her. And I also really like about her that she keeps kind of these core aspects of her personality throughout, despite rising to fame. She's still self-deprecating. She still is funny and humorous, like just as a baseline, also as a defense mechanism. Yeah. She has her like awkward wave and physicality and all these like just funny things that are just inherently her that kind of don't totally change throughout.
And to that, I think the coolest thing about the character is, for as much as I said she has main character syndrome and she is very confident, we never see her mistreat anyone in the entire story. She's very kind and respectful to everyone around her.
Yeah. She doesn't abuse anyone. She she's confident, she's not cocky, right?
Right.
Like her confidence is rooted in her talent. She knows that she's talented, and that is true, and that proves out. And so her confidence is justified for sure. And yeah, she doesn't make anyone else suffer for it. And if anything, with him especially, she just diminishes her own talent and intelligence to make him feel bigger. I mean, you hear her say it several times. Oh, you know how dumb I can be sometimes. Like, girl, no,
Yeah.
you're not. Like, stop talking about yourself like that, you know? But she does it because he is struggling and he's on this downward trajectory. And, but early on, to your point, when she has this big moment, the Don't Rain on My Parade of it all, it's one of the best songs in musical theater history, period, full stop. But especially in this moment, in this context of this story, and in her performance of, she knows that this is a risk. She says that it's in the lines where she's like, hey, if someone takes a tumble, it's me and not you, right? Like, this is my life, my risk, my choice. And I'm going to have this love. I'm going to have this also. I deserve it. I want it. I'm going to go for it. And you see her really battle for that. And I think that's really admirable, even though, you know, it doesn't turn out the way that we want with him being, he's not the man that you want for her at the end of the day. But there is this semblance of hope, because you do see how much he loves her and wants her to be there. He just can't get a handle on his own shit.
I do like to go back to the song you were just talking about. I like the visual portrayal during that song. I don't know how they do it in the stage show because I've never seen it, but I like how throughout that song it's her on this journey to go get to him, and she's on the train singing, and then she's getting to the boat, and there's all this stuff. Like, I think that is very powerful and moving as we're seeing her on this journey throughout. I think that's a cool director's choice there. What about the rest of the music in this? Like, as far as musicals go, what do you rate purely just the songs in this one? And I think I made my point earlier. I wish more people sang. We get like the mom and her friends at the beginning doing this brief thing. We get Nick singing like twice. And I'm pretty sure aside from that, it's just choruses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Follies choruses and things. I mean, that's very true, though. I think it's very timely. I will say just that my last comment there is like, of the musical theater at the time and of the Follies in particular, is it was all about the production, which is one of the things I love about this movie, is it really captures that. It really captures the beauty and the big, beautiful productions that were vaudeville, and also what eventually translated to the stage shortly thereafter, to film shortly thereafter as well, of like these big, beautiful sets, these insane effects, these costumes for days that were like sparkling, beautiful.
Bridesmaids and the Swan Lake of it all.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking cool sequences.
Incredible, right? And like just the visuals of how they choreograph that, and also design that. The production design, the costume design, the choreography of those is really incredible production. And again, I think true of the era, right? It wasn't as much about solo acts. It was about big, beautiful, intense choreography and that kind of thing. So I think it's very fitting in the sense that there are more chorus performances like that. I think the takeaway with the solos that she gets, those are proving out, again, her talent. She's the anomaly. We're going to build shows around her. We're going to give her solos. And that is atypical. And it's very, very fitting. I love her people song, like People Who Need People. I mean, it almost feels out of place until she fully sings it out, because you're just like, where's this going? And then it fits so perfectly. And again, her vocals are incredible. And they just really let her run away with it. I mean, it's hard to imagine somebody without this kind of voice, this powerhouse voice, being able to sing these songs.
Yeah, I don't dislike any of the music, the songs in this. I think if you had given and this goes back to the musical itself, not the movie version of it. If you had other characters singing, I think they could have added a little more variety to it, because I think one part that I wrote down for a first time watch through, I was like, I remember like 2 or 3 of the songs pretty well, and the rest of them kind of blend together because it's always Fanny singing. And I was like, imagine what you could have done if you had let what is his name, Flo, sing a song. Like, you could have done a different genre entirely. Like, you really could have spiced things up a little bit. And I wrote down, again, not to be super critical, but to my point earlier of how likable Fanny is and all these mannerisms and this physical comedy and all of this, Robin Williams never made 2.5 hour movie like comedies. It, for me, hit a point of diminishing returns where I was like, I get the way Fanny presents herself, but I was laughing a lot more in the first 45 minutes than I was in the last 45 minutes. And it wasn't purely the subject matter getting darker. It was just these things that she was doing early in the movie don't hit as much at the end when she's doing like a wacky voice or like saying something a little off kilter. That is one other critique I would give that kind of ties to that. If I wish there was a little more, she doesn't have to be the only one with a big personality is what I'm saying. It's her and Nick, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think it would make sense naturally for it to go differently for her character, but I agree
Right.
you could bring in other dynamics that uplift or other characters or something to maybe make that second act feel not quite as long. I did sort of forget how long this movie is, and you'll laugh at this because I made our friend from work that I won't name because I don't know if he's cool with it, but I made my friend from work watch this with me last night after we went and saw a comedy show, and it was really late, and I was like apologizing. I was like, "Fuck, I forgot how long this was," because it is very long. I don't think you feel that the whole time necessarily, but it is very long. And I do think for her character, not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but I think it does make sense for her character for her light to diminish a little, right? Like her light is diminishing for a reason. This person is draining her and making her diminish herself so that he can feel bigger, because again, he's wildly insecure. He is in competition with her. He even says it later of like, I just always thought I was going to catch up, but I'm realizing this is a race I'm never going to win, you know? And like, that's not a partnership. That's not a relationship that is rooted in
I wrote that. I was like,
love.
he's a fucking hater. He's just jealous of all the success she's having. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. He's insecure because he is not successful. And if he was successful and she was successful, maybe it would be fine. Maybe. But he can't handle that he's not. And he can't just be happy for her. He tries to be, but it's very performative. It's very like, I'm going to pretend like I'm happy for you. I'm going to pretend like I'm excited for you. And it's not real. And that's going to tear somebody down is what I'm saying. She can't be as funny anymore. She can't be as gregarious and drop a bunch of, you know, one-liners that are as great when she's, you know, she is being diminished by this relationship.
Absolutely. And to the credit of Omar Sharif, like we're criticizing Nick, I think the actor does an incredible job of getting that like stoic of like that kind of half fake smile throughout this thing. Like, I don't know if you're supposed to dislike him as much as I did, but I just got a bad read on him. But he does a great job of when she's bringing up these successes of hers of like, oh, I'm so proud of you, but you can tell. Yeah. I'm like, the actor is killing it.
It's like smiling through teeth, you know, it's like a little bit fake and it's subtle. Yeah. I think his performance is really incredible. Yeah. Omar Sharif does a really good job of playing that of, there's still that layer of charm, but now it's just getting thinner and thinner, and you're seeing a little bit more under the mask of what he actually feels.
That note that you just made reminds me, you remember Blue Valentine when we did that one? Of like, oh, Ryan Gosling when he's in his 20s and like very impulsive and crazy and stuff. It's very charming, but then it turns out if you stay with him for 20 years, it gets a little fucking old. And that's kind of what happens here. There are two good things that come out of the Nick situation. The ruffled shirt callback joke, I think, is great. Just throughout the film, like Babs recalling it, her mom even like she's the guy with the ruffled shirt and like all the girls doing that. I just think that is great. And then to that point, the mother, I just think she gets such a great chance. Kay Melford gets a chance to really shine here by being, again, like showing that mother's intuition and understanding from the get-go, like this guy's handsome, he's charming, but there's something off there. And when she starts calling her out on it and delivering that dialogue of like, I'm not criticizing Nick. When have I ever questioned, like, she knows what she's getting out of him. I'm surprised at you. I'm like, shit, like mom knows what's up.
Yeah, I love that scene where she is, you know, she knows her daughter and she knows how her daughter has changed as a result of this relationship. And she doesn't blame him, you know, right. She blames, he hasn't changed in her eyes. He's exactly who she thought he was the whole time. and her daughter has allowed it to change her. And I think that's really hard for her to see, you know. And I like that she calls her out, and she does it in this very authentic way and in this very mom type of way that only moms can do sometimes, you know. Only the person who really loves you that way can do that and tell
Give
you,
it to you
like,
straight.
yeah, they'll give
Shout
it to
out,
you
Mom,
straight.
if you're listening. Yeah.
Yes, shout out, Mom. Thanks, Mom. But yeah, and just focusing in on the humor of all that, I do love her energy and her physicality, and you kind of get like just a little sense of where that maybe comes from for Fanny as well, of like she inherited this from her mama, you know, I got it from my mama kind of energy, and it's really cute, and it kind of ties them together. And that whole scene is really funny. And then I also think another person who gets to be really funny throughout this as well is Flo, is Ziegfeld. And
Yeah.
I like that dynamic that they build, and how dramatically their relationship changes very quickly. I mean, and you see she's got him wrapped around her finger at the very beginning, but it just like more and more and more, and their dynamic gets funnier and cuter. And so it's nice to see these other relationships lift her up.
I thought they would do more with what's her friend's name? We didn't even name him in the opening credit.
George. Oh,
Kenny?
Oh, Ken. I think it's Kenny. Yeah. Sorry.
I thought they would do more with that. I know it's 68 when this movie's coming out, so I don't know that they're going to do an infidelity storyline, but like when things started getting bad with Nick, maybe it's my 2025 brain and all the tropes that I've become accustomed to of like, oh, obviously she's going to leave this piece of shit and end up with the friend that's been there the whole time. It's very John Hughes of it all. It turns out he's a good friend of hers and he's been there the whole time and they have this connection. But I guess he's not really in it enough to validate that.
I don't think so. I also think like he could be gay. He's like a theater kid, you know, who knows? But
I mean, anyone could be gay, Mackenzie. Like,
obviously, but I'm just saying he could be, and maybe they can't have a romance because he's gay.
I'm gonna watch every movie in that context from now on. Of like, that guy could be gay.
That guy could be gay.
Yeah, we don't make assumptions. Yeah.
I agree with you though. I think it would be too easy. I think it would be too low hanging fruit to like just tap this guy immediately. And I also think like even after this is happening with them, she still loves him. That's at the end all be all is that she still loves him. So she's not about to, at least not yet, just move on to somebody else. And, you know.
And it also probably proves her independence, like of being able to stand on her own. Like, I feel like it would probably make the character look weaker to be like, she had to go from one guy to another guy in order for this story to have a happy ending. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to see her in mourning, and like to your point of this, the second half starts to diminish a little bit. I think you're watching somebody's heartbreak, you know, and she's trying to stop it, you know. And I actually kind of forgot that part of this before, and I've seen this a bunch, but it's been a while. And I sort of forgot that part of this because, to your point, the first half is so funny and it's so uplifting and enjoyable, and you forget how much it diminishes in the second half and how sad it is. And I think you're just on this ride of the demise of this relationship and this person that she really, really loves. And I think it takes us to like the lengths she'll go to try and create something that makes it work for him. She tries to scheme up this whole 50K partnership deal and the like club. And it's rooted in this thing that is inherently like not great, right? Like it's kind of a club vibe. There's still going to be gambling. There's still like, this is not, you know, the most credible career to begin with, you know, and it leans into these things that bring out the worst in him, but she still wants him to have a fucking job. So she manufactures one that she thinks that he will like. And his fragile male ego just can't take it. He can't let her help him.
Yeah, when he finds out that she's been paying the help around the house in his absence, like he takes that as a personal insult. Like, dude, I would fucking love it if I was married to somebody that paid everybody so that I didn't have like.
Also, like, why do you think they were still working? Like, what did you think was happening? They're gonna go 2 months without pay.
He was so charming.
He's so charming. They just did it for you as a favor. No, fuck off.
I did laugh though. I told Janelle when they were having that conversation and the guy was pitching him on, I want you to run this gambling club after everything we know about Nick to this point, and he says something to the tune of like, oh yes, I have so many good business ideas of a place like that. And I was like, is it that the owner can play for free?
Right.
Like, is that your
Is that
big
the
idea?
what's your big idea? You know, what is your actual idea other than you just want to gamble, you know? And I love that
Um,
she's like, I think it's something you'd be really good at. Do we think so? He's not
uh,
he's not doing anything very great right now. Like, are we sure that we think he would be great at this? But like she's just
no.
fucking reaching. She's just
Yeah.
reaching right now. And it's
It's
really
very
sad.
much, this is the more accessible G-rated version of A Star Is Born. I feel like it's this dynamic of people getting famous, or like one of them getting famous, and then eventually just seeing, like, again, how things slowly go wrong. But I feel like this is much more easy to swallow, and I'm basing this on the newest A Star Is Born. I haven't seen the old one, so
I think, yeah, I think his motivations are really different than that one, but it's similar of just like they're not in the same place. They're
well, the other guy
dealing with
just
it.
wants to drink. This guy wants to gamble. I get, yeah, they're different.
But I just mean they're not the other guy really loved her and wanted her to be successful, I think is what I would say.
That's
Is the
true.
difference.
Yes.
This one, I don't think he does. I think he wants to, she can be successful as long as she is one step behind me, as long as I am more so. And it's really truly kind of pathetic. And then he decides, obviously, what he decides of just like, I can't do this because, you know, you're more successful than me. And he does this Hail Mary pass to go do this like bond scam, and he gets caught and he goes to jail. And that's true. That happened. And she went and saw him every week in Sing Sing for the 18 months he was in prison. And they don't
He got to go to Sing Sing?
Yes, he did. He did.
We haven't covered that movie, but we watched that a couple months ago. That's a great film. Anyway.
It is a great film. But he goes there, and in real life, he goes there, and she goes and sees him every week and supports him. Like, she is the epitome of stand by your man. You know what I mean? Epitome. And we don't sit through all that, which is probably good because this is already getting long, obviously. But then he comes back, and their goodbye, like, it leads to one of the best performances of this film. It's incredible how we go out here from a performance standpoint from her, but their goodbye, because of, again, his fragile ego, is just so heartbreaking, but also just so lame. Like, the thing that comes to mind, It's not a great description, but it's fucking lame, and it's pathetic, and it's like, even this goodbye kiss is weak. Like, everything about it's just like lame, pathetic, weak. Like, it's disgusting to watch him in these last final moments.
Enlightening me to the fact that this is a true story makes it a little easier to swallow. But I wrote down at the end of this, God, that was underwhelming. Like, I wanted her to leave his ass and like give him the business. This guy would rather go to prison, like plead guilty and go to prison, than to be in a marriage with you. And then they have this sort of like hot, cold send off of I still love you too. She kisses him, and I'm like, well, great, Janelle. Now this guy's gonna go intentionally get shivved at prison because he really doesn't want to be with this woman, but he can't like make her break it off with him. It's just so underwhelming. It's sealed with her song, which I do think is great and powerful and a great performance, but fuck, is that last scene just not what I wanted it to be?
No, and I think like this is the true story of their demise, in that sense of just, they don't make it work, and he does get caught and go to prison. And he actually goes to prison more than once. He goes to jail and then he goes to prison, like federal prison in real life. So like, and they did have, you know, a couple of children together, but he, you know, he actually, I believe, in real life does serve her. Like, she doesn't ever give up on this relationship until he, you know, files for divorce. But like, she does, and I could be wrong. I mean, like in Funny Lady, the sequel, he is serving her with divorce papers. I can't remember if that ends up in real life, if she did it or he did it. But again, epitome of stand by your man. And then he comes and says goodbye to her, and again, just the most pathetic way, you know. But then we end with this fucking song and this performance of like My Man. And it is, I mean, this is the thing that, if nothing else, because she's done an incredible job throughout this entire film, but this is what won her the Oscar, if nothing else. Like, just her whisper crying, singing her way through this, and like the power in her voice growing and growing and growing, and then just the emotion of this. Even if you don't watch this whole movie, I think you could plop into this moment and feel everything that she's feeling. It's just such a powerhouse performance.
I like from I wrote this down in regards to the whole the music as a whole in this. I like the way they play with sound in this film. So during that last song, when she starts singing in the close up, I believe, but then they zoom into like the big overhead of the theater, and it's just kind of this echo as if it's coming from the stage. You don't see her yet. Then we get the close up, and it goes back to her voice. Like they play with audio a lot. There's also a couple scenes where they do her singing as an internal monologue. I think the dinner scene is really funny, if not really fucked up what she's singing about, of like trying to tell a man no and not knowing if it's okay. Not it's 1968, but nowadays that's not the message we want to send. But I just love how they play with the audio in this, especially in that last sequence. If we hear her singing in almost like 4 different settings the same song.
Yeah, I mean, it's a progression. You hear the difference in that progression kind of throughout. And I kind of love that that's what closes us out. It's really sad. It's really sad, but it's almost like, what are you going to do after that? What are you going to show immediately after that that really truly bookends this story and wraps it up in a bow? Like, I think this in A La 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 Land actually is a bittersweet story. A La La La. A La 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 Land. It is a bittersweet story. It's supposed to end that way. And so I don't think there's I don't think there's an alternate ending that I would suggest for this particular story, but it's at least you go out with this like incredibly powerhouse song, no matter how heavy, it is.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I had a good time watching this. A little long, to your point. 2.5 hours for the story being told, and I think the music could have been a bit better. Not better, but more variety. I think I would have appreciated more to help ease that time length. But yeah, enjoyed it. Had a good time.
It was a good time. I got a couple little nuggets that we weren't able to work in. They just kind of didn't make sense at any particular point that I thought I would share with you guys, which is that Barbra Streisand and Omar Sharif had an affair during this. And actually, Barbra Streisand is kind of known for her affair vibes because she was married at the time to Elliot Gould during both this and the stage production, I believe. And she had an affair with her stage counterpart as well, who played Nick. I think was Sidney Chaplin at the time. And she had affairs with both of them. And William Wyler, the director of this film, knew about the affair and was just like, I'm just going to use it. I'm going to just channel that chemistry and put it to work and let's get it done. So yeah.
I read, is it true that he knew they had an affair during this set? So during that final sequence, he had Omar Sharif standing like near the camera so that she could look at him, because they knew like, oh, after we leave this movie set, we're not going to be able to hang out anymore and like bang. So that brought more emotion out of her performance.
Yeah. It did. Yeah, he was there. I mean, by all accounts, he was there. He was standing there, and that was.
I mean, in a way, Barbra Streisand is like the best method actor of all time. Then, good for her.
She also, in theory, kind of picked him. I don't know if she had a crush on him before or whatever, but they had talked about Frank Sinatra for this role, and she didn't like him personally. Like, she thought he was very talented, but she didn't like him personally, so she vetoed his casting. But she approved Omar's casting.
So she was just like sitting there swiping left and right. And like, yeah,
she's
okay,
like,
this actor
unsubscribe.
will do.
No, thank you. Yes, this one's good. I love this. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty funny. And then I think the last nugget I'll share is that supposedly the woman who wrote the book here said that working with Barbra Streisand was, which like we said earlier, I will defend to some degree her talent and her reason for being this way. But apparently it for Isabel Leonard was like the most ego crushing experience of her life, she said, of like working with her. And I don't know if that's just because, again, she's so demanding or she's so incredibly talented and it's hard to work with next to somebody like that. I don't know. But she is quoted as saying that. So maybe there is some credence there to that. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. I think there's also more to the story, to your point, but they had to cut a lot of this. Like, there's a lot, I would imagine, deleted scenes that give us more of other people. But I think they did center on the key points.
It's a one-woman show for a lot of it, which I guess is the point. But I feel like you could have mixed. I think of something like Chicago, where it's which I think we're also going to do this month, but it's like Zellweger's the main character, but you get songs from all these other people that just helps to keep things moving. Because by the like 19th Barbra Streisand song, I'm just like, okay, I get it.
Well, there were definitely accounts of like Wyler had cut a lot. Like other co-stars had complained that there were so many Streisand scenes. And I think it's just, again, I think this is somebody who's on screen for the first time, and like I think he's a little taken with her as well in her performance and wants to focus on that. And again, it's already very long, and so I think it's just, you know, he focused on the most.
She won the Oscar.
Moments.
Who am I to disagree? You know, so.
Right? There's a reason. There's a reason she won for sure. All right. Well, thanks for hanging with us, kids. That was fun. I had a good time with that one. So come back next week. We're going to have some more. But before we get into all of that, what is your rating?
This is one I really got to ponder. I think if you had asked me in the first hour, I would have said, holy shit, I am enjoying this and laughing so much more than I thought I would. Like, I don't know that I've ever watched a true Barbra Streisand movie. I think the only thing I've ever seen her in was Meet the Fockers. I don't think that counts.
I don't think so.
So I think this is the first full one, and an hour in, I went, oh my God, I had no idea. I need to go watch more Streisand, because I was just a bit, but like I said, by the end of the 2.5 hours of it being just a focus on that character, I just think there was more to be done here. Not that the comedy isn't great. I had a couple notes about, I really love the poker scene when she's trying not to make any expressions. Like, that scene is great. The roller skating scene, when she goes out to do her solo and she's singing, the guy says smile and she puts on this fake ass smile on her face. She is a great comedic actress. But I just feel like they could have done more with this, and that's maybe not the movie's fault. It might be the musical. So I am really, really torn of how much I ended up enjoying this by the end. If you had asked me an hour in, I would have said, oh, this is going to be at least an 8.5. I think by the time I reach the end, I'll still be nice and say it's a almost 50-year-old movie. So I'll give it like I'll give it like a 7.5, an 8, I guess an 8. It's pretty good. You?
Yeah, I think I'd give it like an 8. I think it's a classic for a reason. I think it's a really good representation of musicals on film and is really pretty well adapted. I do think, again, I noticed it this time more than I had before, it does go a little long. And I think if you're really immersed in the experience, it's not super noticeable, but by the end you're like, oh yeah, that was kind of long. So, and I just think you can't ignore just, again, what a powerhouse she was and is in this film. So, credit where it's due to this overall production and to her
performances were great. Like there's not one, as far as the people who are chipping in on this in all the different roles, whether it's behind the camera or in front of it, everyone crushes it. I'm not critiquing that. I just think from like big picture, the final product, how that turned out, there's things I would tweak to make it just a more enjoyable experience. But
yeah, I think that's fair. But yeah, I think I'd give it a solid 8.
Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah.
There's a scene when they're on the boat, and I believe it's the steward there is an English guy. And she comes in, says hi to Nick, surprises him. And the steward says in an English accent, like, oh, I saw your performance in whatever, blah, blah, blah. You were so good. And she says back, well, thank you. In an English. What if, Mackenzie, that guy was any other accent? Any other one? Whether it be Chinese or Australian. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of trouble when you take a compliment somebody gives you and just spin their accent back at them. I don't know that everyone's going to appreciate that. Just wanted to point that out. Little troublesome.
I think it worked for this one for sure. But yeah, a different one, maybe not so much. My immediate thought in that scene was, oh, I hope him and his husband saw it together. I just like immediately felt like he was gay, and they went, yeah, like, I don't know. I just wanted them to have a beautiful love story where they went and saw musicals together.
I've got a hypothesis going into the rest of musical month, and that's that you believe every male in a musical is gay. So far, we're 2 for 2.
I don't know. I didn't say that Kenny is for sure gay. I just said maybe he is, and maybe that's why they didn't match them up. But this guy, I do think he's kind of gay. Like, I think he gave me gay energy a little bit. But I don't know. I just want a gay love story for musical month. That's all.
We'll have to pick a winner then.
All right, kids, thanks for joining. This was super fun for me. We're going to do more musical fun next week as well. So come back for Cabaret. It's a very different energy. Very different energy. It's going to be fun. But in the meantime,
I'm realizing that when you said we needed a gay love story music, we should have just done Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, that is the most literal. I mean, it's all over the place, but it's, Rocky and Frankenfurter, that's a gay love story. Like, I don't know.
I mean, that goes all to all the places. Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we're not doing that. We'll save that one. Maybe we'll do it in October or something, guys. But in the meantime, follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things. Instagram, TikTok. You can get the video of this podcast on YouTube or Spotify video. Give us a follow and a rating wherever you're listening to us, por favor. And finally, you can always email us. We drink and we watch things pod@gmail.com. We're doing FanJan again next month. So send in whatever suggestions you have, and we'll do some Instagram polls to see what movies we should watch in January.
Yeah, love it. All right. For now, though, go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.